Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the North Fair Oaks Community Council meeting for Thursday, July 26, 2018. Pardon. It's if we could start with roll call, please.
Of course. Chair Everardo Rodriguez.
Present.
Vice Chair Beatriz Cerrillo.
Present.
Council Member Rosario Gonzalez.
Present.
Council Member Linda Lopez.
Present.
Council Member Rosaura Lopez. Youth Member Yesenia Mendez.
Present.
Thank you. If anybody has any public comment, anyone may speak up to 2 minutes on any topic not on the agenda. The council may not discuss or take action on items not on the agenda tonight. And if you wish to have a public comment, you would need to fill out one of these slips. They have them by the front door. And we have one, let me see, doesn't have the subject.
It doesn't have a subject?
No. Mr. Vicente Paz, is this in relation to anything on the agenda? No, or separate?
O en español.
Oh, item number 2. Okay. That's public comment. Okay, so I am assuming that is not related to any of the other topics here. It's sobre
Oh, it is.
what is it about?
Parking, I think. He said.
Is it the Yeah, so it's not. If you can please come up to the podium and speak. You have 2 minutes.
Ok, el problema que tenemos en la calle de la Sexta Avenida es el tráfico. La carretera está muy mala. Muchas casas de renta con exceso de vehículos. Nosotros como residentes estamos pagando taxes y no podemos tener derecho a parquearnos enfrente de nuestras casas. Y ese es un problema que yo tengo 18 años. Le llamamos al sheriff, nunca hace nada. Hay veces que han pasado gentes hasta 60, 70 millas por hora por la calle. Hay gentes mayores como mi vecina que no podemos disfrutar de nuestra calle por la gente que pasa en exceso de velocidad. El otro problema es la escuela que está en la Middlefield. No provee parqueaderos para los alumnos. Hay veces que nos bloquean nuestros driveways que no podemos meter para adentro. Le llamamos al sheriff, no llega el sheriff. No sé qué es lo que se puede hacer. Si podamos como poner tipos como parqueaderos residenciales.
What portion of 6th Avenue are you, like closer to Middlefield Road or?
Cerca de la Middlefield Road a la otra calle, en esas dos calles. Hay también drogas y actividades sexuales.
I know that in regards, just briefly, I'm going to tell you that in regards to the parking problems, the county is going to start testing an area here in North Fair Oaks, closer to El Camino Real, where they're going to be providing parking permits for residents. And so that is kind of an experiment that the county is going to run to see if this plays out better for the residents, so that once they have the parking permits, then the residents will have a priority for that parking. And so that is still in the works. Linda, were you going to have any comment?
He doesn't have to give his address, but what side of 6th Avenue? Near Semicircular or near,
Por el otro lado de
or behind the adult school?
por detrás.
Atrás de la escuela?
Sí.
En ese, okay, all right. Thank
Closer
you.
to Garfield, I think. Okay. Yeah, so that is in regards to the parking problems. As for the other issues, the drugs and sex, I would encourage you to continue contacting the sheriff as soon as you see anything that is going on, because they have a station right here on Meadowfield Road, as you probably would know, and so they're supposed to be responding to some of the calls to all the calls that the residents do to investigate. And of course, many times is difficult because they don't particularly have staff dedicated. But we are going to have a sheriff's report later, if you can stay, and maybe we can hear a little bit about some of the solutions to that problem.
El problema es que hay una casa que hay una persona que tiene 6 carros, una persona, 6 carros.
Okay, so
Él puede parquear 3 carros enfrente de la casa y mueve un carro y deja espacio para parquear otro en la noche. Eso yo pienso que es injusto porque nosotros estamos pagando taxes. Le digo al sheriff, fui una vez con el sheriff y dijo el sheriff, no puedo hacer nada, dije, porque es una casa. Le digo, sí, pero nosotros estamos pagando taxes, ellos son renteros. Él dijo, no puedo hacer nada porque ellos están rentando. Ellos están rentando. Le digo, sí, pero yo soy propietario de la casa, estoy pagando mis taxes.
yeah, I understand, and some of us actually have some of the same problems, which the county is trying to work with us on those issues. But like I said, we're going to have the sheriff's report next, and perhaps the sheriff can answer some of those questions. But thank you very much for coming to tell us about it.
La otra persona también, el dueño de las Fiestas Américas, él tiene como unos 10 carros. Él los parquea en la 6 Avenida. Diario los tiene parqueados en la 6 Avenida. Él no vive en Rio City, él vive en East Palo Alto.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll have to do something about it, but thank you very much for telling us.
Ok, gracias.
Next, we'll have the sheriff's report. Captain Christina Corpus, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, council members, county council, members of the community. My name is Christina Corpus, and I am the captain that's assigned to oversee the law enforcement services for the North Fair Oaks area. Tonight, I'll be speaking about our last quarter crime rates and comparing them to the same time last year. So, Part 1 crimes are homicide, rape, assault, burglary, theft, and motor vehicle theft. So Part 1 crimes in comparison from last year to this year. So last year at this time, we had 74, we had 74, and it's 77, and it dropped to 74. So it presents a reduction of 3.89%. So overall, these kind of more egregious crimes, we've seen a drop in. Our burglaries from the last year of 2017 to 2018 are the same. So we haven't had a reduction, but we haven't had a rise either. So again, working in the community, giving community dialogues in regards to how to protect your property and how to protect your vehicles. We'll continue with that work to try to inform people how to better protect themselves. Violent crimes. So last year nor this year, we have not had any homicides. And the crime rate for rape has remained the same. And in the rapes that have occurred, the victim and the suspect are known to one another. Robberies have decreased this quarter by 25%. So citations. So in 2017 to 2018, so the increase in moving violations has increased by 48%. So we're doing more enforcement out there in regards to, parking enforcement and moving violations. So overall, our crime trends, they have gone down. So we continue to be proactive in the community, engaged in the community, and our detective bureau, along with our patrol deputies, work closely together to conduct thorough investigations to bring these suspects, get them to the DA and get them prosecuted. So just some of the community initiatives that we continue to do. We continue to do the Donuts with Deputies at the various schools within the community. Our Neighborhood Watch presentation and training program. We participated in the Oye conference at Cañada School. We did the Kermes and Dia de los Niños at the local schools. We've done a marijuana education workshop at Garfield School. We continue to read to the children at the North Fair Oaks community. This last quarter, we had a photography class for kids. We had our North Fair Oaks bike rodeo. We continue with our foot patrol. We worked with the supervisor, Warren Slocum, to do the North Fair Oaks cleanup day. And then we also have been working closely with the day laborers and provided them with a workshop. And then we were invited to speak at the Tongan Interfaith Immigration Forum as well. So I wanted just to let you know that we are going to be having some upcoming events. So on August 4th, from 11:30 to 2:30, we're going to have a Meet the Canine Day. And we'll have food, festivities, music, fun for all. And that is going to be at the Mounted Patrol Grounds in Woodside. And then we have our upcoming National Night Out, which is going to be held at Fair Oaks School on Tuesday, August 7th, from 4 to 7 p.m. So we encourage anyone that would like to come out and enjoy festivities and really talk about the crime that's happening in the community and have a really safe night out with us. And then I'd like to talk about on Saturday, August 11th, we are going to be hosting a community barbecue for the residents of Stamford Avenue. So it's really giving us an opportunity to go out and meet the community, have the neighbors come out and speak with us about issues that are happening, and then also just show a presence in that community. On the same day, Saturday, August 11th, just a few blocks away at Fair Oaks School, we'll also be hosting a disaster preparedness day. So we will, our Office of Emergency Services and our deputies will be out there with giving information on, how to make a family communications plan if there's a major disaster, helping build a emergency supply kit for them, and just really having more information about what to do in the event of a major catastrophe. And I'm prepared to answer questions.
Thank you very much for your report. If council members have any questions, please go ahead.
Thank you, Captain, for the report. The last two events you mentioned, they are on the same day. You don't think, and it's the same time, pretty much.
Well, Yeah, and so the
You
reason...
don't think you're going to take from one to the other?
No, because I think the Stanford Avenue is really for I mean, anybody can come, but we really want to engage the residents that live on Stanford Avenue,
Okay.
because there have been some quality of life issues on that block, and we really want to pull the community together. But they also have an opportunity to go down to the school and kind of learn about any type, how to prepare themselves in the event of a major catastrophe. So there's actually some good events going on, and they're just not too far away from each other. So we'll encourage people to go to both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so the barbecue on Stanford, was that initiated by the residents?
No, it was initiated by the sheriff's office.
Okay.
So we're going to start doing these in different areas where there are areas of concern. So our next, I believe in September, we're going to do another one, and it will be off of Marlborough in the Devonshire area, Westmoreland area.
Right.
So we want to really just bring community members out and get to know them and listen to any type of, complaints or, maybe something that we don't know that's going on, and really just bring neighbors together to work together and, make their neighborhood safe.
May I suggest that you add the 6th Avenue to your list of maybe upcoming, if not an event, at least some kind of a community dialogue?
Sure.
I mean, I'm sorry, I forgot his last name. Was it Senor Nava?
Vicente Perez.
Where did I get Nava from? Senor Perez mentioned that he's not getting response from the sheriff's department.
Yeah, and
And this has been an ongoing over the years kind of thing. So maybe it's time to do some concentrated outreach in that on the 6th Avenue area.
Yeah, and I can also run a report to how many complaints or phone calls that we've had from residents on that block or in that neighborhood. So I could just run a report to see what the calls for service have been, and then kind of see where the major ones, the majority of those calls come from and what the issues are. So we can kind of pinpoint and discuss, how to strategize on maybe working with the county on, trying to really help with the parking situation and working with the adult school as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. And I just had one other question that actually was brought to our attention at our study session. Councilwoman Rosada Lopez mentioned that cars were being tagged in areas where there's no signage for street sweeping. So I haven't identified where exactly. Maybe we can get that through Public Works, but with the increase of citations, maybe I shouldn't assume, but I'm assuming a lot are street sweeping days.
There are street sweeping.
I mean, that is the highest I've ever seen
Yeah.
that statistic be. And if it's because there's no signage, then we have a problem.
Yeah, and I'd like to find out
Yeah,
where
yeah.
the specific areas are, and then I could go back and discuss it with the community service officers.
Okay.
And then maybe work with the county on providing more signage in those areas.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Linda, I think Irving may have some information about the streets that don't have placards.
Oh, okay.
And so I requested that from him.
But the other thing about that, there was no signage, but also they're having people move cars 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't understand what's going on. So I'm sorry Rosada's not here tonight, but we can get some more information from her.
Yeah,
I mean, who wants to get up at 6 and move your car?
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions? Beatrice? No questions? I did have one question. In the case, for example, of Mr. Perez's complaint that vehicles speeding, around that area. This, I suppose, this is the jurisdiction of the highway patrol, or can the sheriff do something about it?
We can absolutely do something about it. If it's in the neighborhoods, we can absolutely do something about it. So if I can talk to him offline once I'm done, and then find out kind of where specifically he feels that most of the speeding is going on, and then we can do some traffic enforcement there. I can. So I am working with our motorcycle unit to have doing an educational, really more of an educational and kind of giving warnings unless we stop somebody for speeding at a high rate, but really having that enforcement out here to remind people to slow down and then to stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk. So our target date is for kind of latter part of August, and I can send something to Irving to notify everyone in regards to when that's going to occur. But I really want people, especially with school starting up again, to kind of just be a little bit more aware of, their limits of speeding and, the safety of pedestrians as well.
That'll be great. Thank you. And also, if you could emphasize the importance of calling the sheriff when people experience, when they see illegal acts going on, on their streets. If you can underline the importance, because many people get discouraged. They is not necessarily that they may have a bad experience, calling the sheriff and the sheriff not coming in.
Yeah.
It's just that many times we think that they're too busy and, it's going to take me time to call them and then they're not going to show up.
Yes.
So if you could emphasize the importance of, calling,
Yeah.
that'll be great.
And just in his neighborhood, there is a strip mall that has a couple of bars that we've really been working closely with to be a better neighbor. And not loitering, not throwing their cigarette butts on the floor, and not, we've been citing people for urinating in public and smoking because we do have a tobacco ordinance, and encouraging the owner of the bars to encourage their patrons to use the bathroom before they leave their establishment, and to be conscious of the fact that they are, littering and creating a mess, and Garfield School is right across the street. So.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Perez, if you can talk if you can talk to Captain Corpus, she'll be around. Thank you. Thank you, Captain.
Okay, thank you so much.
And so we have public comment. I guess, Melissa, how would we go about it? There's no public comment, but it seems like this gentleman may have another question. So maybe since he's going to talk to the captain, we can move on, right?
Yeah,
public
through
comment.
the chair, if he wants to make a 2-minute public comment, he may, but I think if he wants to speak directly to Captain Corpus, that would be more appropriate offline.
Okay. Okay. Sí, señor Pérez, si puede hablar con la capitana después, le agradeceremos. So we're going to move on to item number 4 on the agenda, which is a presentation by the California Highway Patrol. This is an update that will be given to us by, I don't see the name of it. I'm sorry, I don't have your name here.
It's all right. Anthony Ruiz, R-U-I-Z. I'm officer assigned to the Redwood City area, which covers the majority of unincorporated county and unincorporated San Mateo County, basically from Millbrae all the way down to Santa Clara, Santa Cruz County lines. I was asked to come here today to sort of give an updates of some of the activities that we're doing in the county. In the beginning of the year, we created the Special Enforcement Unit, which is, we have 4 officers specifically assigned to handling traffic complaints and traffic issues in unincorporated San Mateo County. And we're working Monday or Sunday to Sunday. We have a special enforcement officer working every day, even to cover the weekends, because we do have issues on the weekends as well. And we generally work between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. That's usually the time of most of the traffic complaints, but we usually adjust our schedules accordingly to facilitate any other issues. So since the creation of that unit, it's my task as one of the officers assigned to the unit to go and do targeted enforcement, specifically speeding violations, reckless drivers, anything of that matter. He was talking about some of the issues over on 6th Avenue. If there are any traffic issues related, that is our purview. So we're the primary agency that's going to handle any traffic issues. Sometimes a lot of the information gets called to the sheriff's office, and not all that information always gets forwarded to us. So it's generally better to call the highway patrol first, because there's no middleman. The information might not get all the way through, and at least quickly. So during business hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, you can always call our main office, which is Redwood City, and that's 650-369-6261. And after hours, if there's any issues, you can always you can call our dispatch center, and that's 24/7. It's area code 707-551-4100. There's a caveat. August 1st, they're changing their phone number, and I have the new phone number as well. So it's just for the time being. So the public number is going to be 707-641-8300. But anytime outside of 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, call our dispatch line, and they'll, at least so they can have the information to the officers that are working the beat, at least go and take a look at it as well. If there's ongoing problems, I highly recommend that you call our office, speak to a supervisor. We keep a complaint log of all the traffic complaints in the county, and then we're tasked with going and working the traffic complaint and addressing the issues. You can always email me or my sergeant. My sergeant's name is Jason Ivey, and his email is jivey@chp.ca.gov. Or you can email myself. It's Anthony Ruiz, and it's going to be Ruiz, R-U-I-Z, @chp.ca.gov. And then sometimes I can just cut out a whole bunch of people as far as getting some immediate service. We did recently have a DUI checkpoint on El Camino Real, just south of 5th Avenue. We contacted 400 vehicles that evening, and we did actually make 1 arrest for DUI. A couple, maybe 5 or 6 citations for people who were unlicensed or suspended. And just a lot of good contacts and community engagement with that DUI checkpoint. And I'm open to any questions if anyone has any, and I'll be here for a little bit.
Are you Sergeant Ruiz?
No, officer only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Officer Ruiz, where was that checkpoint?
That was on El Camino Real, the northbound direction, basically between Loyola and 5th Avenue. That was last Thursday.
A Thursday night?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about, and you don't announce those, right?
No, we actually do. We notified all the agencies in the area, and we also did a press release. You're required.
That's how the public knows?
Yes, that's how we have to notify. It's required by law that we notify the press a week before, and then the night of as well.
Okay, 'cause I didn't hear about that one. Okay, it's near where I.
Yeah, sometimes if it's not a slow news day, they won't pass all that information out.
Okay.
Do council members have any questions for Officer Ruiz? Beatrice? Any public comment about the report from CHP? I don't see any, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Again,
Officer
don't
Ruiz.
forget to give us a call just for any traffic issues. We're here to help you out and here to take care of any of the issues.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we'll have, next item is consideration of a use permit pursuant to section 6500 of the county zoning regulations to allow for a reduced rear yard setback for a one-story, 570 square feet second dwelling unit located at 465 Fifth Avenue in the North Fair Oaks community of San Mateo. Presentation by Brian Albini from the Planning and Building Department. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, council members, staff, and members of the public. The item before you today, again, is a second unit project on a 6,000 square foot lot located in an S73R1 district. The purpose for the use permit is originally the intent for the structure was an accessory structure, which was compliant with setbacks with 3 feet for the rear, and was subsequently converted to a second unit mid-project proposal. And as per the Chapter 22.5 second unit ordinance, this conversion is allowable with a use permit. The required rear setback is 5 feet. This structure has a setback of 3.25 feet within the limit allowed through the use permit chapter. The location of the project is between Middlefield and Park along 5th. While the entirety of the neighborhood is R1 single-family residence, there is an adjacent school with a use permit to the property. Project is located in the rear, highlighted in red. The table before you identifies the compliance with the existing zoning and shows that amongst all other development standards, it is compliant short of the rear setback requirement of 5 feet. This is an example of the compliance with the side setback requirements for second units, where 5 feet on the sides are required, and you can see it's 10 feet on one and 6 feet on the other. The compliant uncovered parking under the second unit ordinance regulations is designated in the front driveway, and the access is through the right side gate in the front primary residence. The project is compliant with CEQA, and staff asks that the community council recommend to the zoning hearing officer approval for the use permit for the rear setback. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council members?
Yeah, I read your report, and it looks like there's no parking issue, that they're going to use that uncovered area. Is that the garage for, is that covered parking?
That is the.
Is that the garage?
That is the original garage for the primary residence
Okay.
built in 1949.
Okay. I guess my question's more about procedure. It seems like this is kind of after the fact because they already are in construction. So, I mean, do you
Correct.
ever have people have to stop their construction and, I mean, how does that work?
Well,
I mean, to me, it's like it's almost moot because they're already constructing. They constructed, and so it's like
really,
now they're coming for a special permit. And it's okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but just procedure-wise.
and I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
Glad county council's here to assist, but an applicant may apply to construct any structure and can conform with zoning. In this case, it was for an accessory structure, I believe it was a workshop, the original intent. The history of this project was it was built without permits, and there was a stop work notice to correct it. A building permit was applied to correct that structure, and under the accessory structure regulations, this structure was compliant. Over the course of the building permit, the applicant wanted to change the intent and use for their growing family and allow for the second unit. And so under the adopted second unit regulations that went into effect last year, this was feasible to them. And so the only issue remaining to them, all things being compliant, was that rear setback issue. And the use permit was the remedy to that. And so the next steps are, after this approval, should it happen, will be just the finalization of the building permit.
But, so is the applicant told to stop, to hold
Yes.
construction?
Yes.
Okay,
There are
until
no-
it's resolved.
No building permits
Got it.
have been issued until this is resolved. Yes.
Thank you, Brian.
And is the fire department involved in these kinds of issues where there isn't that clearance?
The fire department is one of the reviewing agencies, both under the building permit and under planning permit review. Yes.
Okay.
So they
And I
did
guess-
render comments.
Uh-huh.
Short of the standard fire code adherence, they signed off on the project.
So they will be okay with
They were
3
they were
feet.
fine with the clearance. As I said before, as a structure, it complies with setbacks. It's just the intensification of use, and now that it's a residence and that people will be living there full time, is the change in setback.
I see. Yeah, I guess my only concern would be, the safety issue, that if the fire department for some reason doesn't have enough clearance to come through in case of a fire or something.
Air and what's?
And light.
Air and light, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, but I guess if they're okay, then it shouldn't be a problem. And just a standard question, I suppose. Neighboring residences were notified about.
Yes, there was a 300-foot notification. I received one comment from a residence that was unclear on some of the language in the notification. They assumed that it would be a tandem garage into what exists now, and really it was an uncovered space. And so I emailed back that resident and explained the context of the project.
Okay, thank you. And is there any public comment on this particular issue? I don't see any. So if I can get a motion from any of the council members.
I motion that the council approve the proposed use permit application for relief of the rear setback requirement for the second dwelling unit at 465 Fifth Avenue.
Is there anybody who seconds that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, 2 seconds. All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
And I guess the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, council members.
And next, we'll have the Flood Park update, a presentation by Carla Schuf.
Very good, yes.
Thank you, from the Parks Department. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. My name is Carla Schoaf. I'm with San Mateo County Parks. I'm the Community Programs and Communications Manager for the department, and I'm here to give you an update on Flood Park. It's been probably 2 years since we've been here to update you on this project, so the update is due, and we're actually at a pivotal point, so I'd like to go through the PowerPoint and give you a sense of where we're at, how we got here and where we're at right now. If you're familiar with the park, you know the park's been in existence for quite a while. It's probably one of our oldest parks, and the department. And the last improvements were made in 1980. And some of the key features, especially the playground, the ball field, and even the tennis courts are in pretty bad shape. We initiated this process to really engage the community in helping us take a broader approach to not just repair some of the elements, but really think about what the needs are for the community as we move forward. As you can imagine, this is going to be an extensive project, so we want to make sure that we hear from all the members. And you might also be familiar with the fact that this park serves a broader community, not just the neighbors that are right around the park. And that's one of the wonderful traits about this park. Community members from the Menlo Park area, North Fair Oaks, even East Palo Alto have long time seen this park as their community park and where they have family celebrations. So as such, as we did our outreach, we really sought to include all those community members. So the existing fields at the park are in pretty sad shape, and that's the result of being closed down during the time about 2011-12 when the SFPUC was doing their pipeline work there. Gophers had a field day, and the irrigation system was in pretty bad shape, so that field really hasn't been in place since that period of time. The other factor is the play structure, which is the only play structure in this 25-acre park, is rather dated. And when parts of it fail, we can replace if the replacement parts are available. Otherwise, we need to remove some of those elements to meet safety standards. And as a result, we sort of begin to shrink that play structure, which really isn't meeting the needs of the community. And as well, the tennis courts and even the volleyball courts are in real need of some repair. This also presents us an opportunity going through this process to think about what the additional uses are. For example, sand volleyball has become very popular right now, so an opportunity to maybe look at, switching out some of the regular volleyball courts for sand volleyball courts was something we looked at. As I mentioned, we really wanted to engage the broad community in this process, and we did so by having 6 community meetings, including the final meeting at the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. And over the course of that time, we had approximately 500 people attend these meetings. We had an online survey which generated 220 survey responses. And we made sure that we balanced the location of the meetings. So if some of you are involved with this process, some of the meetings were held right here in this room, as well as in Menlo Park. And we really wanted to make people feel comfortable about bringing their ideas forward. So we had Spanish translation available as well as Spanish materials at most of our meetings. We couldn't always make it happen for all of them, but for most of them. And going through this process, we really worked to include people and help them identify and tell us what the priorities were. And you could see on the slide, we used a dot board exercise, which you're probably familiar with. So we understood what was really important to people. At the same time, we did table work groups. So people could sort of come together and sort of express what their ideas were, and we were able to learn the priorities through that process. So as a result of all that, what did we find out? The community priorities were really to expand the park uses. Again, this is a 25-acre park. It has some wonderful attributes, but people were looking for some new active uses. And that would be more sports, perhaps, as well as they were looking for healthy lifestyle activities, a gathering place, and most importantly, they wanted to preserve the trees. We have quite a few heritage oaks trees at this location. If some of you aren't familiar with what a pump track is, a pump track is really a small course with a lot of rises and dips, and bicycle riders sort of, pump really fast to get up and around, and then they get a speed and they go around the course, and it's quite a lot of fun, and there's a real interest in having this kind of feature at the park. So the priority features are, I would say this park is really known for its picnic areas and the ability for a lot of people to gather either on a very large basis or small groups. Additional sports fields is what we kept on hearing throughout the process. This area is really impacted by demand for organized sports and limited field space. And then also a destination play feature, and that would be something that is rather unique beyond the classic slide and swing, but something that really encourages youth to explore and be creative in their play. At the same time, we heard that an all abilities play structures, something like the Magical Bridge project in Palo Alto or Redwood City, was of real interest. At the same time, we also heard about gardens, and a demonstration garden was something that most folks sort of landed on, and that's something that people have an opportunity to learn from, and so potentially classes in terms of drought-resistant gardening and how you could use native plants to be included in your landscaping. And we have quite a few interested members from the Master Gardeners program that would really love to not only plant a garden, but also provide classes. And I know that we have some Spanish language Master Gardeners at our other park location, Friendship Park. So all of this brings us to what we call the preferred alternative plan. And through this process, we asked participants to, again, tell us what their interests were, what their priorities were. We got to 3 styles. And at one of our meetings towards the end of this process, we asked participants to vote on their preferred style. This is sort of a hybrid of that, what we call the Central Park style, which really sort of has all the bells and whistles, and all the activities that people were looking for was in that Central Park plan. And then we asked them to further refine it and tell us what was missing in that plan or what would make it better. So that's how we got to this. And as you can see, we've now got two sports fields. We have a pump track. We reduced the number of tennis courts from 4 to 2. We have volleyball courts, bocce, and gathering place for events like we typically hold a movie night at Flood Park, and some other things could be held there. So this is really the sort of Cadillac version, but it met all the people's needs and for what they were looking at. And I just wanted to make note of, I don't know if you can see the dashes going through the park line, and that is the SFPUC pipeline. So it's been there since we've, managed the park. It's something that we need to work around when we maintain and manage the park, as well as whatever construction we do. There are very specific regulations in terms of what we can put on top of that pipeline, as well as even the equipment we can use to install some of the features of the park. We are now we've gone through the environmental impact review process of the project. And that began in 2017. We have issued a final report in May. And you may be familiar with the fact that the EIR looks at a number of elements of the project that could have an impact on the environment. In general, usually noise, biological and cultural, water, and traffic and parking. And during that process, initially we gathered public input. We provided that to the consultants who led the EIR project. At the same time, we received written comments, and those comments were divided essentially into, I guess, two camps: the people who really supported the project and wanted to see it move forward, as well as the people who had concerns about some of the potential impacts. And it's the purpose of the EIR is to take those in and then speak to them in a final document. In addition to that, we're required to evaluate some other alternatives that could perhaps mitigate or address some of the concerns that were raised and some of the impacts identified. And the alternatives were no project, which would leave the park in the same condition as it is now. Reduced athletic programming, which obviously would not meet the need of the demand of the community in terms of sports fields. And then a multi-use shared field, which has some benefits, but again, doesn't meet the whole need of the community as relates to sports. So throughout that entire process, we come to the final impact report, environmental impact report. And of all the elements reviewed and evaluated and all of the findings, there was one single significant impact that we could not mitigate, and that is traffic. We live in an area that just about every community is impacted in some regards to traffic. And it is at the intersection of Bay Road and Ringwood Avenue. And most importantly, it occurs, or I would say it can't be mitigated, the traffic concern can't be mitigated, especially during Monday through Friday between 4 and 6. So that's a known time when people are coming home, and it's a real high traffic time. It also, though, happens to be the likely time when most of the athletic programming would occur. It's after hours, after school sports. So this condition is considered unavoidable unless we had no activities scheduled for that period of time, which would negate the benefit of having sports fields at the site and added to the park services. And at the same time, we also looked at some of the things that could minimize that impact. One of them was to bring the pay station where people pay to come into the park, because it is a vehicle entrance fee park. So to move that more inside so traffic wouldn't queue up out onto Bay Road. So that's definitely an option. We also looked at allowing free entrance during that period of time so people could just come in and drop off. And at the same time, also coordinate with the city to help with some enforcement. There's some concern by the neighbors that folks would do a drop-off back in Iris Lane, which is one of the main streets that abut against the park line. So all of those are options, to consider as we move forward in this project. What are the next steps? We will take this EIR to the Parks and Recreation Commission on August 2nd, where we'll ask them to accept the report and then make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to move that on so they can certify the EIR. And we're anticipating that'll be sometime in September of this year. And then we hope, if that document is certified, we hope to move forward with final design and building plans. And this phase actually presents another opportunity to further engage the community. The preferred landscape plan is more conceptual than build design ready. So this is another opportunity for the community to come in and let us know, share some of their ideas for even making the plan better. That'll sort of address some of the concerns or needs of neighbors, but further meet the needs of the broader community. And that's all I have to share with you right now, but I'm more than happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you for your presentation. If council members have any questions, please go ahead. Go ahead, Beatrice.
I'm glad to see this move forward. I assisted various meetings about the park, and then I didn't hear any information, and I kept thinking, in the back of my mind, gee, I wonder. Well, I'm glad for the update of the information, and going forward, I'm looking forward to participating in another community meeting for further refinement of the plan.
Great. We'd love to have you be a part of that.
So remember the shuttle service you had? Did you think about doing that for helping to cut down on the number of cars? You didn't mention that, or is that part of the plan?
It's not part of the plan. I would say that as we move through this process, we know that traffic is a big concern, so we'll be looking at a lot of creative ways where we might address that. I have to say, well, number one, Flood Park is serviced by Santrans, so there is a bus stop right next to that park. At the same time, we have not had the ridership that we would ideally want, even for our park shuttle. So in addition to this project, another project we're looking at is how we can help communities connect with our parks. So there are some alternatives or some ideas that might come out of that project as we look to improve that. What we have found is the shuttle service that we're now providing is very expensive given the limited number of riders that are using it. So I think we want to help people connect to parks in an easier way, and we realize that transportation can be a barrier for almost 19% of the population here. So continuing to look at how we address that need is definitely something that the department is looking at.
Or have Samtrans do the shuttle service?
Yeah.
Gee, that's a good idea.
Well, I think everything's on the table as it relates to solving the transportation issue.
Okay. And what happened to the swimming pool?
The swimming pool has not been in place for, I want to say, 50 years. And
they didn't really want it to come back? Is that?
There were definitely people during the process that raised the idea of the swimming pool. Owning and managing swimming pools are very expensive, high liability rate, and so at the same time, I would say our department is not necessarily a recreation department, so we don't even have the staff skilled to meet that service and provide that service in an appropriate manner.
And my last question, was there input from City of Menlo Park and specifically Facebook in this whole proposal?
So the City of Menlo Park, I should backtrack and say that at the launch of this project, we had a project team, and representatives on that team were from the City of Menlo Park, from the neighborhood, from North Fair Oaks Forward team, as well as we had quite a bit of involvement from the Siena Youth Center. So we tried to have a team that helps shepherd the project through, especially at the early stages, and also be ambassadors for the project out into the community. So City of Menlo Park has been with us every step of the way through this project.
What about Facebook?
We have not reached out to Facebook. We did not. We certainly did a lot of activities and handouts at Facebook during their farmers market, but we didn't specifically target Facebook during this project.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So just a follow-up to Linda's question. So does that mean that funding is already secured for this project?
Funding is secured for the design phase. We are working with our Parks Foundation, a number of community partners that have expressed interest, especially in helping fund the ball field, the tennis courts, and the volleyball courts. As we work through this design phase, our Parks Foundation will be heavily involved in that process, and they have already secured funding just to help launch the fundraising process for this project.
Thank you. I had another question, but I kind of forgot. Does anybody else have a question? No? Beatrice, go ahead.
Ridership on the shuttle that's provided now is down. Are there certain parks that are popular where you see ridership, or just in general it's just down? And how can we help to promote, that this is available for our families in our area?
So the park shuttle was originally designed to start in South County, East Palo Alto, Menlo Park, come here and make a stop, and then go to 2 parks, Edgewood Park and Wonderlick Park. We picked those parks because they have visitor centers, and we also had bilingual staff available to support the visitors that came to those parks. One of the things we've learned is it's really challenging to change behavior, and especially in terms of change behavior, visit a park that you're not familiar with and then also use a shuttle service to get there. But we've been working and learning from a lot of other park agencies who have the same interest and the same desires in terms of connecting communities who don't traditionally use more rural parks to them. And so we're learning from some of those agencies as we move forward and explore some of the ways that we can continue to this. I will say that we've had some real good success working with Ravenswood Clinic in East Palo Alto. We partner with the San Mateo County Health Services to make that connection, and we've even scheduled some solo events with some of their patients and the physicians to bring them out on the shuttle to some of those programs.
I remember the question I had, and that was in regards to the timing. So if everything goes all right with the EIR review, etc., when would you expect this project to be finished, more or less?
Well, the project is projected to be implemented in phases. So with the fields being the priority. So we would look at this as sort of a phased approach. And I don't know that right now. We are planning to move forward with the design phase. Hopefully the Board of Supervisors accepts and certifies that document to allow us to do that. And then what we're projecting is at least getting to building plans by 2019. And then we would begin the RFP process to contract with the vendors who would do that construction. So it's probably a little too early to project that far out right now.
Understand. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And I don't think there's any public comment for these. And so we will move on to the reports. I don't think we have a supervisor's report tonight. I'm not sure if we have a county manager's report. No? Okay. And as for council member reports, do we have anything from council members? Go ahead, Yesenia.
I have an announcement.
All right.
Next month will be my last meeting
Oh,
because I will be heading off to college that Saturday.
wow.
Actually,
Right.
so that's exciting.
That's
very
great.
exciting.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I have, so that is one, and one other issue. As you all know, we have 2 council members' spots ready to be filled, and 1 alternate youth member, and then we'll have Yesenia's chair to be filled as well. And so there has been a few submissions from interested residents. We have, I believe, about 4 adult applicants and 1 youth member. We formed a committee to interview the new members, and Rosario, Rosaura, and myself are going to interview these residents hopefully on Monday next week. Victor hasn't corroborated this, but that was the intended plan. And so hopefully by September, we would be having the new council members join the board. And the other issue is that most of you, if not all, know that Mr. Mike Callaghy has been promoted to county manager. And so I am assuming, I haven't heard from him or his office, so I am assuming that somebody else will be hired, as the, as the
Liaison.
liaison, yeah, and maybe perhaps that person is going to come to our meetings. I'm not sure. Melissa, do you have any information in that regard?
I don't have any knowledge of a plan for, I imagine that his current role of assistant county manager will be filled. I don't know who that will be. And then in terms of who from the county manager's office would be attending these meetings, I don't know yet either. But I think we can probably get that information for next month, most likely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Chair, Everardo. So we are going to confirm on next Monday in County Center, room 101, for the scheduled interviews.
Oh, so they're going to happen. Okay, very well. Thank you very much. And so stand by on county manager's report in that regard. And then the other issue was that we discussed at the last study session, and that it would be good for you all to know, especially those of you who were not at that meeting, is that county wants to make an effort to encourage us to use the Gmail account rather than our personal accounts, because it doesn't get a lot of use, and essentially there's no point of paying for those accounts if council members are not using them. So I would encourage you to use your Gmail accounts anytime you have any communication that is in regards to the North Fair Oaks Council. And also, I believe that's it for myself. I'm not sure if anybody else has anything else to...
Can we briefly go over the schedule?
Oh,
The next
yeah.
two study sessions? I forgot.
Yeah, so we also discussed in the last study session a proposal agenda that Emma Gonzalez forwarded to me, and we went over those items and presentations that the county feels that we need to be informed about. And let's see. So in terms of the permit parking pilot program study, we still have to decide whether we want that in a study session or in the regular meeting, and notify a county, and then in so it had been initially proposed, that particular parking permit issue, it had been proposed for the August regular session, and we're still pending on that. Then there was also a presentation by Atherton Selby Lane intersection, and a presentation from the planning department in terms of Chantilly requesting a permit. Chantilly, I believe, is a business on El Camino
It's a
Real,
closed restaurant.
close to Selby area. Yeah. Then on the September study session, September 20th, we would have an update from the North Fair Oaks, from the Office of Education, and in regards to public and charter schools. And also another issue that we wanted to revisit was mental health on that same study session. And by all means, this is still flexible. So if you think that there's something else that you would like to see presented or talk about during any of these sessions, let me know, and we will try to accommodate those. Then for the September 27 regular session, tentatively, that would be the time when we would be introducing or swearing in the new council members. And there's a planned presentation in regards to rezoning Phase 2B and Phase 3B. And then for the October regular session on October 25th, tentatively there would be a presentation by CHP and again by the Sheriff's Office. We would also have a presentation about the Redwood Junction. And also a presentation on the, or I'm not sure if it was by the Art Committee.
And for October?
In October, yeah. And then by, on the November study session, which is the last study session for the year, we talked about the possibility of having some sort of a retreat, since this year we haven't had one, and it's usually good to have that. And I thought that it would be great if we could have some sort of retreat session with training as well for the new council members that would be joining, since it'll be potentially, if not four, new members. So it would be great to have some training. And then for the last regular meeting session on November 29, that will be the last of this year. We would have a presentation on the Middlefield Road Improvement Project. And so far, that's it.
Okay, through the chair,
Yes.
Stanford, where did we put Stanford in this? We have some unfinished business regarding the Redwood City Livable Neighborhood Streets project, which involves the money coming from Stanford Hospital.
Correct.
So that's the unfinished piece. But along with that, they're constructing what they're calling a Pavilion D and a 300-space parking lot. So there's a lot more projects that are pending for that area that's on our border.
Correct.
So I thought we had mentioned, or somehow can we fit getting a update or report or some kind of a communication with Stanford?
Yeah.
I didn't hear it when you went through.
Yeah.
So
no.
that's my only suggestion.
No.
Everything else sounds great.
Yeah, that is something that we need more information on, and my suggestion is either including it in the study session for September or in the regular meeting, either one of those. But it looks like as of now, the September regular session seems to have more time available for
Yeah,
that.
I would like to see that if everyone's in agreement.
Okay.
I don't want to touch that September study session because the focus is going to be on the schools and also mental health at the schools. So
Yeah.
we need to focus on that. But if you can squeeze that in for the September regular meeting,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Mhm.
Yeah, 300 cars, more.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cars.
Yeah.
Oh, and the consultant's no longer there. It's Eric Shen. Kimberly Overton is no longer
Oh.
consulting
She left.
with Redwood City. The person handling that, his name is Eric Shen, Z-H-E-N. That's City of Redwood City.
Okay, thank you. All right, so it stays for the September 27 regular session. Let me see what else. I think that's pretty much it, or that's all I have. If any other council members have any reports or other information to share, please feel free.
Chair, Everardo, through the chair, although saddened by Yesenia's departure, we will require a letter of resignation. So just a reminder.
I'm sorry, I
So?
didn't catch the.
For Yesenia's, saddened by Yesenia's departure. Well, congratulations on going to school, first and foremost. We will require a letter of resignation.
Okay, great, thank you. That's duly noted. And if there isn't anything else, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.
Cold.